Okay, this is April 24th, 2014, and I'm going to review a number of trades that happened, both trades that I took and trades that I should have taken. And I just want to talk a little bit about what's happening here. That you can see it's, almost 8:30 in the morning, and prices are kind of tapping against the Globex low. You're going to see them break down here in a second. I had a difficult day today. I ended up losing 5 ticks, and a lot of it had to do with my mentality, my psychology. And the reason is because I actually missed the very first trade opportunity and trade setup that I saw. I was too slow, I was hesitant, and as a result I missed a very, very good trade setup, one that I was ready for, waiting for, and I just ended up missing it. And it caused me to maybe tighten up a little bit more, toughen up a little bit more in future trades. It ended up having me make a mistake. So you can see here, price came down pretty hard here through the Globex low. It looks like there was probably a small news report on this day that happened, and came down here to about 21, 20 and a half, and the bulls start to take it back up. What we're going to see happen is we're going to see prices come back here to the Globex low, and you can see there's a very clear step area between 23 and a half and 24, and I'm looking at that area very intently. I'm just kind of waiting for price action to come back up here. You can see my cursor is just kind of hovering in this area, just looking for it to come back. What's encouraging to see is to see the sellers are still hitting in here, even though the bulls are kind of bringing them back a bit. So good to see, that 1400 it was there. You see they're still hitting in here at 22 and a half. So we're just, at this point, I'm just kind of waiting for prices to come up here to 23 and a half. You can see that I'm getting ready. I see these big prints come up here, and I'm thinking about it. And I think at one point I even put a trade on, and then put an order in, and then cancel it. So here you go. I put an order in here, and then I cancel it. And I really should have left that order there. That was the spot. You can see the bulls had kind of slowed down a bit. And it takes up here 3 contracts here, 1600 here. And I say, 1600, that's great. Well, of course it's great, but it's also late. Price really turns around after that. Hit down here, 702, sweeping down. I would have been up 2 ticks here. Probably expect a test down here, maybe to 20 and a half. Really would have been a fantastic trade if I had been a little bit faster, and I was just waited too long. That was definitely a big problem for me, and something that I need to correct and work on in my trading. So I just wanted to fast forward to this spot. After that move, it actually not only tested 20 and a half and at 20, and it actually broke down to 19. And you can see it came back here again to this point here where I thought between 21 and 21 and a half there was a step. And I hit in here, and immediately it just pushed right through that level. Came up here to this better level here up at 23, 22 and a half, and that's where I got out. And I think because I missed that first pullback trade where it went up to Globex low, I thought, I better get into this next pullback trade and make sure I get in. So I actually got in what I think was probably a risky area, which was the step here at 21 and a half. I really hadn't seen a lot of bear strength at that point, and so that was a little risky. You can see here again, I'm toying with this idea of the Globex low, and you can see, all the contracts are lining up here, kind of pushing against the Globex low. You'll see the 5-year over here actually push up through the Globex low. It's Globex low. And I'm encouraged to see, some good selling here, but there's also some really good buying strength in the book. They're just kind of battling back and forth in this area. I decide to hit in here at 23 and a half. And I get some good prints, and initially I'm thinking that's looking pretty good, but there's no book strength at all. There's nothing on the bear side. A little bit, it starts to stiffen up a little bit, but the bulls are really, really pressing right here. When it take past 23 and a half, I should have gotten out at 24. 24 and a half if I could. But it just kind of swept up really fast, and I got caught up. So I lost 3 ticks there. So I'm down 5 ticks at this point. You can see the 5-year had pushed up past this Globex low. Everything's really kind of pushing up. I ended up getting out here at 25, and that was a good place. It was good that I got out then, for sure. So the downside is that I took a couple of probably risky trades, looking for a pullback setup, and really what had happened is the market had sold off on the news, had kind of tested the bottom and then reversed, really giving back all the profits from the news. So I should have been a little bit more aware of the context there and a little bit more suspicious about pullbacks that were happening and about a broader short move here. Okay, so a little bit later, not long later, just a little while afterwards, after the market opened, you can see the prices come up through this value range, and I've got a lot of buying right up here at this 26 level. The 5-year breaks its step, and with all that buying, there it goes, it's sweeping the book. And you've got to think there somewhere at this point that they're going to test the Globex highs. 26 and a half would be a great spot to get in if you could, but it may not come down here. So 27 would have been probably acceptable. You're leaning on this 26, 25 and a half area. Still a little bit hard to take that, just because of the risk reward. 26 and a half would have been really the best place, but it didn't even touch that. This was tricky too, because I'm just going to stop this for a second. You see, here we go, we'll stop this for a second. So you see that, what we have is we have the 5-year that's popped up through its highs, its Globex highs. We have the 10-year that looks like it's threatening its Globex high. Now, again, if you gotten in here at 26 and a half or 27, you have to expect that it's going to come up here and test that, 28 and a half, 29. So that would have been, a decent trade setup that I missed. That's a kind of before she goes setup. Now over here on the ZB, you have a situation where you see the others that are taken off, and it's kind of forming this high volume node right here at 134.09. The bulls are absorbing a lot of this selling that's happening right here in 09. And so it's almost like you can use ZN and ZF as forecasting what ZB is going to do. So I actually took a sim trade here. I wish I'd taken a live trade. I need to kind of train myself to take more live trades, especially in ZB when I see these kinds of setups. But for me, it was a little bit of a risky setup because I don't trade ZB very often. Ended up getting here at 134.09, and of course I'm expecting, it to ZN to at least test the Globex highs. I'm seeing some good behavior here in the book. And ZB tends to, not move around as much as ZN. And you got a lot of absorption here. And the bears are trying to push it down, and every time they do, the bulls pop it right back up. And here we go. We're one tick in profit. And here come the bulls. They're absorbing right here at the high, 28 and a half. You can see that absorption happening, and they're hitting in at 29. I don't know about these trades. I don't know if this is an as she goes kind of trade where you would hit in here at 29, expecting at least a couple ticks up. I think that's a trade that John from No BS Trading trades. For me, I don't think I'm quite as maybe I'm a little bit more reluctant with those kinds of trades. And notice that it came right back down here to 29, where it had been resistance before, came back down here, hit that support, and now it kind of went back up again. And it really just keeps on going. You'd see I got out on the ZB contract when it hit its Globex high, and it just keeps on going. So missed that opportunity to get in on that that before she goes, as she goes type trade here at the Globex high. missed it again when it popped up, and then came back down here and tested the 29 level as well. I was probably distracted at my ZB sim trade to notice the live setup that happened as well. So that's another danger to look at. And again, you can see that I'm kind of looking for a possible pullback trade here in the ZB contract, and the ZN contract really jumped up and got away from me at that point. So the last thing that I want to show here is just how quickly price can kind of break down, especially when you're dealing with a kind of a range type day where you had a false, failed breakout below. Now really what you're looking at is a failed breakout above. If you're expecting the Globex high to hold, I think obviously I'd be out now. If I were trying to get in at 29, I'd get out pretty quickly here at either 29 break even or 28.5 if I could. Because price had, you're expecting that to hold, and it didn't hold. It kind of came down here, 28.5, 28. You can see it came down really hard in ZB, starting to crack it down at below this step level, and price just kind of falls, more and more back to its kind of original range. So it was a tough day. It was a tough day because there were some failed breakouts. I like to trade retracement trades. I was hesitant on my first retracement trade, and I was not paying attention on my second retracement trade. I waited too long to take the setups. So not only did I miss the good setups because I hesitated, but I ended up taking poor setups because there was the second attempt where really what was happening was a reversal that was happening because this was in really a range day, and those were just failed breakouts. So some tough losses that affected me or were caused by the effects of a psychological lapse in my judgment.